I watch people sleep. I pray they don't wake up. My name is Ethan Caldwell, and the first thing I ever remember is a nightmare. When I was 5, I woke up to the sound of footsteps. Downstairs, heavy, dragging steps that didn't belong to my father. Our house in Morgantown creaked like it had lungs. Every board seemed to breathe with the cold, but that night the sound was different. It was deliberate. I thought Dad had gotten up for water, so I crept down the staircase in my dinosaur pajamas, holding the banister that was taller than my head. Halfway down, the light by the front window flickered on, then off, then on again. Click. Click, click. Click. A man's shadow stretched across the wooden floor. Too tall. Shoulders slumped, arms hanging like a marionette waiting for strings. I called out, "Dad?" And the shadow turned. For a second, the world blinked. Light off, dark, light on, and he was right in front of me. It was my Uncle Amos. He was staying with us for Halloween weekend. Mom said he'd been through some things after an accident at the lab where he worked. I didn't know what PTSD was, but I learned what terror felt like. When I saw his eyes, they were open, glassy, looking through me like I wasn't real. He stood in the moonlight wearing an old hospital gown, the kind with the pattern of tiny blue diamonds. His hand rested on the switch beside the door. He clicked it again, off, on, off, on, off, on, like he was sending a signal. Then he whispered, in a voice that didn't sound like his own, "The broken man is coming." He screamed right after. Not like a man, like a child. My parents burst from their room, and the moment Dad touched Amos's shoulder, the light stopped flickering. Amos blinked, confused, as if he'd just woken up in our living room with no idea how he got there. That was 30 years ago. He disappeared a few months later. Everyone said he drove into the mountains and never came back. Sometimes I think he never left. I make a living watching people sleep. I'm a polysomnographic technician. Basically, I wire people up with sensors and stare at their dreams through a monitor. I work nights at the Black Hollow Sleep Center, a 3-story brick relic tucked into the West Virginia hills. The building used to be part of a psychiatric hospital. They never bothered to renovate the top floor. The wallpaper still peels in long curls like dried skin. When the wind hits the eaves, the whole place hums, a low, steady tone like someone dragging a bow across a cello string. I clock in at 9 p.m. sharp. The night text routine is simple. Calibrate the EEG machines, check oxygen lines, fill the coffee pot until it burns. Then you wait. People come in with insomnia, apnea, nightmares, night terrors, whatever makes their sleep a battlefield. I get paid to make sense of the noise their brains create. Most nights nothing happens. The monitors show slow waves, delta rhythms, the quiet drift of unconsciousness. I watch strangers twitch, snore, mutter secrets into microphones, then pack up before dawn. I tell myself I'm helping them, but really, I think I'm trying to understand my uncle. The worst part is the silence between data ticks. Around 3 a.m., when even the crickets outside seem to hold their breath, I start hearing things. The click of a switch down the hall, the faint hum of a light turning itself on. Every time I check, the hallway is empty, the bulb steady. Still, I keep a flashlight in my pocket. Old habits. It was raining the night Sarah and her mother Linda arrived. Linda was in her 40s, the kind of woman who apologized for existing. She gripped her daughter's hands so tightly their knuckles turned the same shade of white. Sarah was 17, maybe 18. Platinum blonde hair, dark circles so deep they looked tattooed. She wore a hoodie that said Mountain Ghosts in cracked lettering. "Sarah hasn't slept through a night in 2 months," Linda told me. "She walks around the house, turns lights on and off, sometimes screams. She says there's a man watching her." Sarah rolled her eyes, but it wasn't teenage defiance, it was exhaustion. "I don't remember doing it," she said softly. I just wake up and the lights are blinking. That word, blinking, did something to my chest. I led them to room 1, the observation suite closest to the nurse's station. Inside, the air smelled faintly of bleach and old dust. I started attaching the sensors, e.g. electrodes on her scalp, EKG pads on her chest, oxygen cannula under her nose. She sat perfectly still while I worked, eyes fixed on the monitor behind me. You film stuff, right? I asked, nodding at the hoodie. She smiled a little. Yeah. Abandoned places mostly. Appalachia's full of them. Churches, mines, old hospitals. My channel's called Mountain Ghosts. We post every Friday. Linda frowned. That's part of the problem. She went to a condemned asylum last weekend. Since then Mom. Sarah's voice cut sharp, embarrassed. Drop it. I finished the setup, told them I'd be in the control room, and left. The first few hours were uneventful. Her EEG showed normal stage 2 cycles, spindles and K-complexes, the language of healthy sleep. Around midnight the rain thickened into sleet, hammering the roof like 1,000 nails. I sipped burnt coffee and watched the gray outline of her body on the infrared feed. Then my phone buzzed. A YouTube notification. Mountain Ghosts uploaded a new video. Ravenswood Asylum, found patient files. I shouldn't have clicked it. But curiosity is what gets everyone killed in these stories, right? The video opened with shaky GoPro footage of Sarah walking through an abandoned hospital, her breath clouding the air. Her flashlight beams skimmed over flaking paint and rusted bed frames. The captions read, "Filmed 2 nights ago." She turned a corner into an office where a stack of yellowed folders lay on the floor. She brushed one off and read the label aloud. Caldwell Amos. The camera zoomed in on the file. My heart stopped. Same last name. My uncle's. She flipped through papers. Medical notes dated 1974, describing a patient who claimed to see a figure called the Broken Man during sleep paralysis. The file said he was committed after killing a colleague during an episode. In the margins, a doctor had scrawled, "Subject repeats light pattern nightly." Possible code? The next shot showed Sarah pointing her flashlight at a wall covered in graffiti. The lights flickered in the hallway behind her. Off, on, off, on. She laughed nervously. Guess the wiring's still haunted. I paused the video. My hands were shaking. On my monitor, Sarah stirred in her bed. Her eyelids fluttered, REM phase spiking. Then click. The bedside lamp blinked once. Twice. Then 3 short. Flashes, 2 long, 3 short. I did the math automatically. Morse code. No. Wait. That wasn't SOS. The pattern was different. Short, short, long, short, short, long. I grabbed a pen and scribbled it out. Equals SUMMON. The word burned through the page. I switched to the live infrared feed. Sarah was sitting upright. Her eyes were open but blank, her mouth slightly parted as if she were listening to someone whisper just out of range. All sensors still attached. No sign of distress, except for the EEG, which spiked in wild, incoherent bursts. I called through the intercom. Sarah? You okay? No response. Her lips moved. The mic barely caught it, a ghost of sound. He never sleeps. The lamp flashed again, same rhythm. I killed the power from the control room. The light went out. For about 10 seconds, everything was still. Then the emergency backup kicked on and the camera glitched, washing the room in white noise and static. When the image cleared, Sarah was lying back down, eyes closed. Normal respiration, steady heart rate. As if nothing had happened. I checked the time. 3:13 a.m. Exactly the same minute my uncle's chart had recorded his first episode. I should have called the on-call physician. I should have logged it as a seizure. Instead, I sat there staring at the dead monitor, listening to the rain chewing the roof. Apart, and thought about that night 30 years ago, the sound of the switch clicking under my uncle's hand. The lights in the hallway outside my control room blinked once. Then twice. Then 3 times. I whispered before I could stop myself. Please don't wake up. And somewhere down the corridor, something clicked in answer. The next morning felt wrong. I slept for maybe an hour after my shift ended. When I closed my eyes, I saw blinking lights behind my eyelids, little red dots that pulsed in the same pattern I'd written on the notepad. Summon. When I finally sat up. The marks were still on my skin, the faint circle outlines from the electrodes I'd worn while testing the sensors earlier. They looked like burn rings. I told myself I was just exhausted. Hallucinations come easy when your body forgets what daytime is. Still, before heading back to the center that night, I stopped at the diner across the road. The waitress, Jean, poured coffee without asking. "You look like hell, honey," she said. "I watched people sleep," I answered. "It's contagious. Black Hollow looks different at dusk. The trees around it lose color first, turning into silhouettes hours before the rest of the world goes dark." By the time I parked, the wind had picked up again, whistling through the cracked windows on the upper floor. I half expected to see someone standing there. Inside, the fluorescent hallway hummed like a throat clearing itself. I signed the logbook. Sarah and Linda, night 2. Linda waited by the reception counter, clutching a Bible. She'd asked for another overnight study to compare data. I suspected she just didn't want to leave her daughter alone. "She's been talking in her sleep all day," Linda said. "Something about the pattern. Did you notice anything?" I lied. "Just normal REM behavior. Nothing to worry about." Sarah sat on the edge of the bed in room 1, pale but restless, fingers tapping her thigh in groups of 3. She smiled when I came in, though her eyes didn't follow me. They tracked the ceiling lights instead, blinking whenever they did. "You ever feel like dreams are contagious?" she asked. "Only the bad ones," I said, and started attaching her sensors again. While I worked, she whispered something so soft I thought it was static. "He doesn't like when it's quiet." I pretended not to hear. Around midnight I noticed the hallway camera feed flicker, just once. The timestamp skipped half a second, like reality had hiccuped. When I looked back at the monitor, Sarah was already in stage 3 sleep, waves deep and slow. I relaxed. Maybe tonight would be normal. Then her EEG spiked. At first I thought it was an artifact, equipment glitching from humidity. But the pattern formed an almost perfect rhythm, short bursts, long pauses, short bursts again. When I overlaid the Morse translation, the letters spelled something new. AWAKE. The lamp beside her bed flashed the same way. I muttered a curse and went into the room. She was still asleep, eyes moving under her lids, whispering in sync with the light. "He's awake! He's awake! He's—" Her voice cut mid-word. The lamp went dark. I reached to check the power strip. Every light in the building shut off at once. The only thing left was the glow from the monitor in the hallway behind me, showing my own silhouette standing in Sarah's doorway. And behind my silhouette another one. Taller. Bent. The emergency generator kicked in a few seconds later. The other shadow was gone. Sarah was still on the bed, breathing fast but steady. I yanked every plug out of the wall, and told myself I'd imagined it. In the control room, I replayed the footage. The file corrupted at the exact moment the lights died. Every frame after that was black, except for one, a single still image that shouldn't have been there. It showed the hallway, same angle as the camera, but instead of me, there was a figure facing the lens. Long arms. Limbs bent backward at the joints like a mantis. The face was a blur of white noise. In the bottom corner, the timestamp read 3:13 a.m. Same as the night before. I deleted the file. Or thought I did. Because when I looked up, the screen still displayed the frozen frame, the pixels twitching like it was trying to move. Then I heard the first scream. Linda was at the nurse's station, sobbing. "It's the lights!" she shouted. "They won't stop." Every fluorescent bulb in the corridor was strobing now, perfect. Synchronization, every on-off pulse matching that damned pattern. Summon awake. The words layered over each other in my head like overlapping tracks of a song. I ran to room 1. Sarah wasn't there. The door to the stairwell hung open. Cold air poured through like breath. I followed the sound of feet, bare, quick, echoing. Halfway down the stairwell, I caught sight of her, long hair whipping as she descended, one hand dragging along the wall. Sparks jumped where her nails scraped metal. "Sarah!" I called. "Stop!" She didn't even turn. But the lights did. The bulbs overhead flashed one by one, leading me downward like breadcrumbs into dark. At the basement landing, the smell hit me, old mold, iron, something wet. The emergency exit sign glowed faint red, the only light left. Beneath it, Sarah stood in front of the old observation mirror that used to let doctors watch the isolation cells. She stared at her reflection. Except it wasn't her reflection. In the glass, the figure behind her was moving a beat too late, its body cracking sideways each time, bones bending in directions they shouldn't. The face looked like it had been folded, origami of flesh and static. When it turned, every joint in my own body screamed in sympathy. I lunged forward and grabbed Sarah's arm. The reflection didn't move. "Wake up!" I shouted. The mirror exploded. Not shattered, exploded, as if pressure had been building behind it for years. Shards rained across the floor, slicing my cheek. The hallway lights went out again, leaving only the glow of the red exit sign pulsing like a heartbeat. Sarah collapsed. By the time security arrived, everything was still. No broken mirror, no blood, no evidence of anything except a confused teenage girl and a technician with a bleeding face. They called an ambulance anyway. Sarah came to, dazed, asking where her camera was. "There was someone else down there," I said. Linda shook her head. "The basement's sealed. It's been for decades." Later, alone in the control room, I checked the storage drive again. The corrupted video had returned, but this time the timestamp was tomorrow's date. And under it, a folder I hadn't made. /am Caldwell /session 03. Inside was a single audio file. I hit play. A male voice whispered, distant but familiar. "You're doing good, Ethan. Keep watching. They're almost awake." Then the power went out one last time. They gave me 3 days off after the basement incident. 3 days I don't remember sleeping. When I shut my eyes I see that mirrored hallway replayed on loop, the reflection lagging behind reality, the fold in the face, the whisper. Every blink feels like a frame cut from a film I don't remember shooting. I keep thinking about what the voice on the audio said. "You're doing good, Ethan. Keep watching. They're almost awake. Almost awake." That phrase rattled around in my skull until it started sounding like an instruction. Like I was supposed to keep the lights on. Like I was supposed to finish what Amos started. On the second night home, my apartment lights began to flicker. Just once at first. Then again, rhythmic. I told myself it was the wiring. I even unscrewed the bulb above the kitchen sink. It kept blinking anyway. The air smelled faintly of ozone and dust. Like a storm hiding behind the drywall. When I looked out the window, the streetlights on Harper Avenue were pulsing in the same pattern. The whole neighborhood breathing in time. I filmed it on my phone. When I replayed the video later, the lights were steady, but there was something else. In one frame, reflected in the window, stood a figure bent at the joints like a broken puppet. Its face was my uncle's. By the time I returned to Black Hollow, the staff acted like nothing had happened. Sarah and Linda had been transferred to another facility, No one could tell me which one. The files from that night were missing. The director, Dr. Porter, called me into her office. She looked exhausted, eyes rimmed red, a coffee mug shaking in her hand. "Ethan," she said, "I know what you think you saw. But the basement hasn't existed in years. That wing was demolished before we moved in. Do you understand?" "I was there," I said. She leaned forward. "Then where's the door now?" I didn't answer. Because when I went to show her later, the stairwell was gone. The wall had been sealed with fresh plaster. That night, we had only one patient. A middle-aged man named Gordon Reeves, truck driver, severe sleep apnea. Routine. I wired him up, turned off the light, and settled in at the control room. Midnight came and went. The hum of the machines was almost comforting. Then his oxygen alarm beeped once, and stopped. I looked at the live feed. Gordon was sitting upright, eyes wide open. The CPAP mask hung loose around his neck. But he wasn't gasping. He was staring straight into the camera. The feed distorted for half a second, lines across the screen like teeth, and another face appeared beside his. Bent neck. Grinning. Slit. The broken man. The screen went white, then black. When it returned, Gordon was lying flat again, sleeping peacefully. EG normal. I checked the hallway camera. Every light between his room and mine was off except one. The one right above my head. 3:13 a.m. I don't remember standing up, but I was suddenly in the corridor. My flashlight beam trembled across the walls. Every door I passed felt colder than the one before. When I reached Gordon's room, I heard it, a low clicking sound. Not from him, from the light switch. Off. On. Off. On. A pattern I already knew by heart. I burst in. Empty bed. Restraints hanging loose. Then the PA system crackled to life. My own voice played through it. "Keep watching. They're almost awake." The lights all turned off. For a few seconds I saw nothing. Then movement. Something crawling out from under Gordon's bed, limbs jointed wrong, skin reflecting light like glass underwater. The thing unfolded itself until its head brushed the ceiling. The air bent around it. Its eyes weren't eyes at all, just mirrors, reflecting the hallway behind me. In them, I saw a dozen shapes standing in the dark, half-formed. All blinking in unison. My knees gave out. I remember the smell, hot metal and old dust, and the sound of every light bulb in the building bursting at once. And then silence. I woke in the observation chair, sunlight slanting through the window. The monitors were blank. No data, no recordings. Dr. Porter was gone. Everyone was gone. But on the wall above the control panel, written in the dust with a fingertip, were two words. "Keep watching." I'm writing this from the monitoring room. Or at least, from what's left of it. The clock stopped at 3:13 a.m. again. That's when the hum started. The same low vibration that runs under the skin of the walls, the same one I used to call electrical interference. I know better now. It's breathing. The building breathes when it dreams. After the last blackout, I tried to leave. I swear I did. But every exit brought me back here, hallway, stairwell, reception, hallway again. Even when I smashed a window, the glass fell outward into the same corridor. Somewhere between the floors, the architecture folded like paper. On the monitors, each room still glows green. Empty beds. Except one. Room 1. Sarah is there. She shouldn't be, but she is, sitting on the mattress, electrodes trailing from her scalp like a halo of wires. Her eyes are open, lips moving silently. When I turn up the audio, all I hear is static, but buried inside it is a rhythm, short, short, long, short, short, long. Summon. Awake. She looks older now. Or maybe I do. The lights flicker overhead. For a second, I see dozens of reflections on the glass of the monitors. faces pressed close from the other side of the screen. Some are patients I remember, some are people I've never seen. All of them move a fraction out of sync, like they're remembering how to be human. Then a voice comes through the intercom. "You stopped watching, Ethan." It's Amos. My uncle's voice, calm, almost kind. I turn slowly toward the door. He's standing there in his hospital gown, the blue diamonds faded almost white. His skin has that waxy translucence of a face that's been underwater too long. "Amos," I whisper, "you're dead." He tilts his head, bones clicking like camera shutters. "Not dead. Dreaming. Same thing here." He gestures toward the monitors. The screens show me again and again, from every angle, every moment I've ever looked into a lens. "You built the signal," he says. "You carried it forward. That's what we are. Messengers." "Messengers for what?" He smiles. The skin at the corners of his mouth splits like cracked porcelain. "For the one who wakes when we close our eyes." The floor shudders. All the fluorescent lights burst at once, raining glass. Through the dark, the glow from room 1 grows brighter, too bright, spilling through the hallway like liquid sunlight. I hear Sarah screaming, but the sound is backwards, sucked in instead of out. I run toward it. Every step feels slower, heavier, like gravity forgot its direction. When I reach the door, the light stops. Inside, Sarah is gone. The bed is empty except for the electrodes, still twitching with static. On the wall behind them, written in looping light instead of ink, is a pattern of dots and dashes, endless, continuous. I translate it automatically. "We are awake." The bulbs overhead ignite again, but they're not bulbs anymore, they're eyes. Hundreds of them, blinking in rhythm. The air vibrates with breathing. The world folds in on itself like a collapsing lung. I don't know how long I've been typing. The monitors keep showing this same feed, me, hunched over the keyboard, lit by the red glow of the exit sign that never leads anywhere. Sometimes I see other versions of me in the reflection, each one a frame behind, a little more broken, a little more awake. If anyone finds this log, if you see the lights in your room start to blink, don't answer them. Don't decode the pattern. Don't watch. Because that's what it wants. It spreads through attention, through the moment you stare too long into a flicker. It rides the gap between waking and sleep, between video frames, between blinks. I can hear it now, whispering behind the hum of the servers, soft and wet. Keep watching. The lights flash once, twice, 3 times, and everything goes white.